Your content isn't bad, it's just packaged wrong. And that's why it's getting ignored. This is what I see all the time. People with great ideas, real experience, posting consistently, actual value, but getting nothing actually back. I've seen this across hundreds of posts and conversations, but it's not because the content is bad, but because it's presented in a way that just doesn't make people engaged. People don't engage with ideas. They engage with how these ideas are actually packaged. I break this down into 4 parts, and the third one is where most people completely mess it up. Listen to this. This is exactly what most people experience.
I always like leaving people with this one thought that you have more control than you think you do. This is applicable for anything. Of course, your life in general, your decisions, your career, but of course, specifically to your confidence. A lot of people come to me and say, Nausheen, I'm an introvert. I just will never be able to speak like an extrovert on stage. Or Nausheen, I've always been so scared of speaking on stage. I will never do it. I've literally had people who come to me who are in their 50s or 60s and they say, Nausheen, I was so nervous about speaking on stage that I told my boss when I was in my 20s, I will never speak on stage. And yes, it affected my career, but that's how I lived my life. And it's really saddening to hear because confidence is a skill you can absolutely learn. You are not born confident, you learn it.
Good content isn't improvised, it's packaged. And that's the difference between content that gets ignored and content that actually works. Every strong piece of content follows the same structure. 4 parts, miss one, doesn't land. If they don't read the first line, nothing else matters. Most people open like this. Here are 3 reasons to, or I wanted to share, but there isn't really any tension or reason to even care. Now, look at the difference. Bad. Here are 3 tips for your content. Better. Nobody cares about your content. Here's why. Same idea, different results. Watch this.
And then at some point I said, okay, let me show you. I'm going to show you how to do it. And then she said to me, oh, I see what you want. You want me to perform? I say, yes, I want you to perform. So we rehearsed. And then Friday when she was on stage, I literally had goosebumps. And now her assistant was here from Taiwan. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry.
This is where most content loses people. They read the first line and think, why should I care? Your angle answers. Who is it for? Why does it matter? And what they get. No angle, no clarity, and vague content gets ignored. This is the difference.
What you have to remember is that there are 2 sides of this. The one side that I feel people talk about too much is it's a platform and it has an algorithm. So bearing in mind these nuances of what can help you push your content forward, it's great to know to kind of help yourself that way. However, that is just a very small part of it. The most important part is what you write and how you write it.
This is where most people completely mess this up. They try to say everything instead of making it easy to follow. That's the difference I see between creators who actually grow and those that stay stuck. Growing creators simplify. One idea, clear flow, no noise, because messy content doesn't get consumed, it gets skipped. Watch this.
With this approach, you always will get the best responses, because what you get as a result are a bunch of questions, and you answer those questions. And when you don't have an answer to a question, you tell it to dive deeper. So you get, let's say, 20 questions, and you can answer 17 of those, but the other 3 you're struggling. So 2, you say, I don't care about those 2, but one of them you say, please, let's dive deeper into that as well. So then it gives you another few questions and helps you to answer the first question. And I did that, and then it felt like, I'm not kidding, it felt like I was talking to someone who is a business consultant and had an entire day to constantly listen to me.
Here's where most creators get this wrong. They write how they think. Messy, all over the place, But content isn't thinking, it's communication. This is what people remember. The takeaway, the insight, the line that sticks. No payoff, no reason to save, no reason to follow. The effort doesn't matter here. Clarity does. Listen to this.
If they can do it, so can I. And it's not to say like no one's better than anyone, but also you're not better than anyone else as well. So if we ever find ourselves questioning of like, one day I'll do that, just have a look at the people that are changing the game in multiple niches. If you just give yourself permission and license to know that you don't have to have a plan, but you do have to believe in yourself, and you will be surprised of where opportunities can take you when you just give it a go. And it starts little by little, action by action. One post leads to another. You start to see impact.
Let me show you what this actually looks like. Bad version. I've been thinking about consistency and how important it is to show up regularly and stay disciplined. Nothing wrong with that, but no one cares. Now, packaged properly. Consistency isn't hard. You're just making it harder than it needs to be. Then, who it's for, why it matters, clear takeaway. Same idea, completely different impact. Next time you create content, do this. Write your hook first, write your takeaway second, and then fill everything in between. That alone will fix most of your content. Good ideas don't win. Well packaged ones do. That's the real difference between being ignored and actually growing. If you want to stop getting ignored and actually build an audience with your content, that's what this channel is about. Subscribe.